I'm Ray Owens, and I own the website squaredancetech.com. There you'll hopefully find a lot of 21st century solutions for the square and round dance activities to consider. This is my inaugural editorial. I think too many of us fall into the "we've always done it this way" mentality. But sometimes we need to take a step back and look at ourselves from a different angle just to see if what we're doing still passes muster. In this first editorial, I'm going to talk about our annual beat our heads against the wall and waste a ton of money and time doing beginner classes. So let's say you can hire a caller for $35 a lesson. Let's further say that you can find a place to have lessons that charges you just $50 a lesson to rent the place. And just to deal with round numbers, let's say you can teach everything from circle left to the last call on the plus list in just 30 weeks. $35 plus $50 times 30 is $2,550, a minimum of $2,550 to conduct a class. Can we see the hands out there of any club in Central Ohio which has recently graduated and retained more than 5 students in a single year? If you were able to graduate 5 students, then the per student investment in just dollars, forget hours, just dollars, would be $510 per student. Even if your club dues are $50 a year, it'll take over 10 years to get that investment back. This is another example of square dancing not being run like a business. This is truly nothing more than a question of supply and demand. We don't have a lot of demand, y'all. There are not 500 people every September knocking down our doors to take square dance lessons. Why do we ramp up the supply? In other words, why do we have a half a dozen different clubs offering classes every single week when there isn't demand to meet it? Think of any class in any public college. If there are not a sufficient number of students to make it economically viable to offer that class, it won't be offered. As square dancers, we are offering a course of instruction that relatively few people want. It's not economically viable to keep doing this. Now, perhaps the discussion should be, so how do we increase demand? Unfortunately, I can offer no insight on that subject. My opinion on this is that it's the culture. Square dancing is not looked upon favorably in urban areas and cities. Our activity is more welcome in rural areas and small towns where traditional American mores and beliefs are still recognized and respected. That's not cities. So let's talk a little bit about SSD. It's a Caller Lab initiative. SSD not long ago stood for Sustainable Square Dancing, and then somehow it got changed to Social Square Dancing. But the theory on SSD is similar to other abbreviated courses. Graduate a class in about 10 to 12 weeks, and then you can start another class, and then another one after that, and you can run at least 4 classes a year. Now, not one person I've spoken with responsible for scheduling classes in Central Ohio even knows about SSD. I'm not sure who to blame for that. Caller Lab? The callers themselves? Are callers stuck between a rock and a hard place? The clubs hire them to teach a 30-week traditional beginner class, but if the caller wants to trot out SSD, do they stand a chance of being fired by the club? Though, honestly, clubs, where are you going to find another caller to teach your class if you do that? The problem in Central Ohio with SSD is that clubs are so married to the fact that they dance at the plus level, and they don't want to downgrade their dances. But if there are no clubs where these new SSD dancers can dance once they graduate, what's the point? At one point, Caller Lab insightfully realized they were going to run into severe resistance with existing clubs. Caller Lab suggested, maybe it's time for caller-run clubs again. You know, I've never been a fan of people who present problems without providing an idea of how to fix it. So, how would I fix it? All right. Note, my suggestions are only for Central Ohio, but they can be adapted anywhere. Ohio seems to be unique where there are regional councils and federations. Most states seem to have only one statewide federation. COCDC is the Central Ohio Federation, where I live. Step 1. Institute a monthly dance where it's no experience necessary. Come kick up your heels, just have a grand time. This is where you invite all the college kids, all the church groups, all the family organizations. For the most part, this monthly dance isn't going to net us a lot of recruits. We should still have marketing material there, don't get me wrong, always be marketing. But this dance becomes our incubator. We may not see any results for 10 or 20 years. When those folks, those people that went to the monthly hoedown, when they're beyond school, they're settled in their career, the kids are old enough to watch themselves, and mom and dad are looking for a new activity. Step 2. This one's going to win me some fans. Get rid of every traditional beginner class. Right now, get rid of them all. Replace it with one class, one Federation-funded SDS class, but do it 4 times a year. This way, any prospective student is never more than 3 months away from a new class. Have the Federation establish and partially fund an SDS club. This gives the new SDS graduates a place to start dancing upon graduation. A whole year after that first SDS class has graduated, start offering a mainstream class twice a year. Concentrate not only on teaching new calls, but also dancing those calls from all positions. Have the Federation establish and partially fund a new mainstream/plus club. This gives the new mainstream graduates a place to dance upon graduation without taking any floor time away from the SDS clubs. The dance format would be similar to the high-low dances currently, tip of mainstream, then a tip of plus. That would help draw existing plus dancers to that club. Then, 2 years after the first SDS class is graduated, start offering a plus class twice a year. Concentrate not only on teaching new calls, but also teaching those calls from all positions. At the graduation dance of each plus class, invite all the other clubs to come dance with the new graduates. It's there that the existing plus clubs can appeal to all those dancers to come join their clubs. Dancers would not feel the pressure to go to another level, as they always will have a club that dances at the level they've learned. If they want to move on, great. If not, hey, that's okay too. I sometimes feel there's too much pressure to have a dancer rapidly get to the next dancing level. Not everyone learns at the same pace. Not everyone is interested in moving on to the next level. What people are interested in is just coming out to dance and having a good time. Back to that supply and demand question. There's always going to be a demand to go out and have a good time. Always. Why don't we work on supplying that demand? Will this work? I have absolutely no idea. I do know that what we're doing right now doesn't work. I know we've gone from 30,000 dancers showing up at the national conventions to less than 2,000. Maybe we should try something else. I'm Ray Owens. Thank you for watching.